Well, I'm 32. I started transitioning at 13. My mom said that she gave me a truck when I was about 5 or 6 and I threw it away. So I think I think I knew, and I think that a good majority of trans will know that they are. I was 11 years old and my sister dressed me up as a prostitute for Halloween. No joke. and seeing my reflection, it was a really weird, surreal moment because I felt like for once in my life I finally saw myself. I went through a really big phase where I really believed that I could be a boy. I did. I wore a leather jacket. I wore, all the guy clothes. I cut my hair off. I did all those things. And I really, truly believed that I could pull it off. But all of my friends kept telling me how sad I looked. When I was living as a boy, I kept wanting to do drag. Something kept pulling me back to being a woman. Because internally, that's what I had always seen, but never knew it. Because it had never been visualized in front of me and actualized. So when it finally was, I was like, wow, this is me. This is who I was meant to be. And then I started hormones at 13. I went through high school. I went from first semester from September to January as my previous self, and then went back to the same school second semester from February to June as Samantha. And I think I got really lucky. The transition was okay. It wasn't as dramatic as some might have thought it was. I was lucky to have done it at such a young age with so many young people around me that were sort of accepting of it. At 19 years old, I stopped hormone therapy because I was just really, really scared that I had made the wrong decision. I had made it at such a young age that I was really scared, and I knew what the hormones could do to my body if I had continued them. So I ended up stopping, and that's when I went through the drug phase. And then at around 26, 27, I came back to being Samantha full-time. When I was transitioning, the problem with being in this city is that I went through high school here. So in high school, if you didn't know me, you knew of me. And that has sort of followed me around since high school, sadly. And so I've gone out to clubs and been out with some friends and had someone walk up to my date and say, that's a man, right? I was very, very heavy into drugs, which sadly is also a very normal thing in the trans community because without a lot of acceptance from outside people in your life, you sometimes turn inwards. And while turning inwards, you turn to alcohol and drugs. So that period was pretty hard for me. I think that the fear of being judged is a very real thing for trans, whether it's being outed by friends or family or whether it's being outed at work. That's a really heavy weight on your chest to be worried about losing your job because you're trans. And so I took my supervisor aside and I said, look, there's some things that you need to know. And my thing on that, on coming out, was about safety. If my employer knows that I'm trans, they are better able to make sure that I am a safe person, right? If they're unaware of what's going on and someone's walking past saying, hey, faggot, well, if my supervisor doesn't know that I'm trans, then they're not going to know that that's directed towards me. So they're not going to be able to deal with it, right? But if they are aware of the situation, then they become more sort of involved in protecting me as an employer. I know when I was transitioning, when I was 25, 26, I was still going through laser hair removal. I only went out at night, and I generally walked through the alleys behind my building because I didn't want people to see me like that. And I know this sounds really sort of silly, but it was sort of like a Quasimodo type thing. I just felt really, really ugly. Like whenever someone asks to see a picture of me from before, it's like asking to see a picture of me on my worst day when I felt like my absolute ugliest. You can't go forward without looking back every once in a while. That's who I was, and this is who I am. And I'm really proud of that journey. It's great. I walked down the street with my boyfriend, and we looked like the very happy American Eagle couple that no one even suspects that I'm trans. And I don't know, I always get really bubbly about it because it's not like it's I'm passing. I'm at that pinnacle of my life where I don't have to worry about anything right now. I can go into any store I want and not be judged. My boyfriend and I can hold hands walking down the street and not be judged because nobody knows that I'm trans. And that's a really great feeling. This sort of access to the healthcare that a lot of people are very afraid to walk into a hospital for fear of judgment, for fear of persecution from whomever, and that's the major thing that a lot of trans people go through. I think I went into the hospital once, and it was after I had transitioned, so my legal name had already been changed, and unfortunately at the hospital my name hadn't been changed. So when they put in my health card number, my birth name showed up, and I don't know what the receptionist, I guess, she's a nurse though, I don't want to be disrespectful, but she was like, who's this person? And I explained it to her, and she seemed to be very respectful, but then it became a gossip. It became within the next 10 minutes, every nurse and every doctor that was on the floor was walking past my room and looking in at me. It's alienating. I mean, like, freak shows were outlawed so many years ago, but I felt like I was the star of one, right? I don't understand what this sort of thing of it is. I mean, if you're a healthcare professional, I would hope that the majority of them are educated and are knowledgeable about the trans situation, so to speak. And it was really alienating to walk in there, and I didn't want to go through that again. So I try not to get sick very often. Well, I'm very lucky that my family doctor has been my doctor since I was a kid. So he's gone through this journey with me. He talks to me. He doesn't talk at me. He understands that this is a process for me as well as a process for him. And while he may educate me about a lot of the medical stuff, I educate him on the whole lifestyle of it, and I think that that's a real sort of partnership that we have that a lot of other doctors and patients might not have. I think that a doctor coming in and acknowledging that they don't know everything. I want a doctor to tell me that off the bat. You know what? I'm really sorry. I don't know about that. But let me find out for you. I'm their patient, and I want to feel like I'm important to them. Nursing students and nurses in general, they need to be educated on the fact that, how to react to a trans client that comes in and how not to react. How to remain professional without letting your emotions or personal beliefs get involved. You wouldn't react to someone who's got colored skin when they walked into your office or anything like that. So why should you react to someone like myself? Hormone usage is a big one. Access to hormones is huge. Surgeries, cost of surgeries and stuff. People don't really think about that. And I think that, a doctor or a nurse knowing that kind of stuff would be really great because it would help us along the way. And I think it would help people to make a better informed sort of decision. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of trans people will go in and they don't have the means. They just can't afford it. I think it just means being true to myself. Waking up in the morning and being able to look at myself in the mirror with clothes on or without clothes on and say that that's something that I'm proud of and I can respect myself. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I'm no different. I'm no better. I'm no worse. I'm like everybody else.